Alright, so I had a few things to say about tonight's episode, and I'll kind of start it off with Christian. Christian was going off about being nominated, and he was focusing all his energy on Mark about why Mark chose him over some other housemates. Pretty much Christian was guessing all these different reasons about why Mark could put him up, and one of the first people who he mentioned was Danny. Mark felt intimidated by Danny, and that's why he didn't nominate him, which I felt was completely false, as I kind of feel like at times Danny is intimidated by Mark, in my opinion. But he also said that, he felt like Jack would kind of go off if he was nominated. He came back in the house, you could kind of see that Jack was intimidated by Mark after he had said all that different stuff and he knew Mark had found out about it. The one thing I did like about Christian going off is I kind of felt like, it opened him up as a character in the house, and I kind of felt like, it made him a lot more vocal. So hopefully that helps him in the vote when they do the final vote. With Christian, it's what the house has kind of been waiting for, and it's what Mark has been trying to get him to do, is kind of, say what's on his mind and kind of blow up on people. I kind of feel like there's two ways that the legends have been voting. On one side you kind of have Brian, and he's kind of voting with his heart, like, who he likes, who he doesn't like, who he's kind of connecting to, who he's not connecting to. And then kind of on the other side you have Helen and Mark, who's kind of voting based off who's entertaining and who's not. And they're pretty much trying to do a job in what's best for the public and be what's best for the show. So I kind of lean more towards who Helen and Mark has been deciding to vote for, as they're trying to do what's best for the show and keep it entertaining. Now, as far as Helen, she had mentioned something and said something about how a showmance is not important and how the public doesn't really want to see anybody shagging. Well, here's my thing and also response to that. A showmance is very important inside of Big Brother. The reasoning behind that is, with the showmance you form a team and the spotlight is always on you. And I'm going to use some examples from her season. In her season, she was mainly hooked up with Ash, and a lot of people focused in on Helen and Ash. I felt like if they didn't focus on them two, Ash, he wouldn't have got as much attention as he is getting. A lot of people thought Ash was boring in that season, but once he started leaning a lot towards Helen, they started focusing in on them two a lot more. Also, I'll use Steve and Kimberly as an example. If it wasn't for a lot of the hookups in the house and the relationship between Steve and Kimberly, then you would not see Chance as like the 3-second Steve, the open it chant, and how much he was saying I love you to Kimberly a lot during that season. It was critical of his popularity within the house during the season. So I definitely think a showmance in the house can get you far in the game. If you're the only person who's having a showmance, then the spotlight is going to shine on you more than anybody else. And if there's more than one going on in the house, usually one couple is liked and one couple is not, and hopefully you're the couple that is liked by the public. But speaking of showmances, Brian and Jade, kind of tell like a team and alliance was kind of forming between them, and also you kind of seen them hook up in the house as well. The only thing I didn't like is how the house kind of broke up what was going on between them, because mainly Brian is not going to have that many days left in the house, so that's going to end pretty soon. But that kind of goes to show what I'm talking about as well, as far as the showmance and the importance of it. Jade and Nick was flirting around a lot in the house when they first came in, and that drew a lot of attention to Jade. As soon as she stopped flirting around with Nick and kind of went off on her own and kind of let Nick go to Harry, you know, all the tension went off Jade. Now that Brian is in the picture, you know, it's drawn so much attention to her. Even when she was flirting around with Christian, you know, that started getting a little bit of attention. So the showmance is very important inside the game of Big Brother. If you don't think that a showmance is important, you're wrong. But feel free to share your thoughts on this episode. What did you think about the voting and the nominations? How do you feel about a showmance personally? Where do you think this Brian and Jade situation is going to end up? Do you see them hooking up outside the house, or do you think it's just for inside the house? And also, was Christian's reasoning behind Mark putting him up correct or incorrect? But until next time, this has been Jacob Rob AJ, and I'll see you.